It is no longer acceptable that 10% of our population will suffer from a rare disease, and you are part of the solution. I'm the parent of a child with a rare genetic incurable disease. My daughter Michelle was born with mucopolysaccharidosis type 1, or MPS 1 for short, a disease that left untreated has devastating effects, including premature death. But thankfully, with the advancements in modern medicine and the investment and courage of many that have come before us, they figured out that a bone marrow transplant would dramatically improve the quality of my daughter's life. So at 20 months old, she received and survived a bone marrow transplant, and her then almost 4-year-old brother was her bone marrow transplant donor. But I'm not here to talk about the complexities of my daughter's rare condition or our family's medical journey. What I want to talk about is why you should care about curing rare disease, and why it's going to take more than just investments in research to cure rare, and why and how we are all part of the solution. Now, when I first put my talk together, I used the words rare disease community and rare disease an extraordinary amount of times. So in an effort to simplify our conversation, I may just use the word rare. So why should we all care about curing rare? I care. I'm a rare mom. But the thing is, I'm not really that rare. Over 10% of our population suffers from a rare disease. That is over 400 million people worldwide. That is more than the entire US population, and it is more than the number of people suffering from cancer and AIDS altogether. And half of these rare patients are children. And for the children that have a rare disease, 3 out of 10 will not live to see their 5th birthday. And with numbers this large, chances are you know someone with a rare disease. So this impacts you. And yet, not one of these rare patients has a cure for their rare disease. So how is it that we can all be touched by rare disease, and yet there are 0 cures? Part of the answer to this question lies in the fact that there are, in fact, over 7,000 different rare diseases. And having small patient populations is certainly a challenge in being able to develop, distribute, and afford rare cures. But it is in knowing this challenge that will help us recognize solutions. What I am talking about is identifying what rare has in common and solving these issues. For example, if developing a rare drug yields a low return on investment, then let's be open to solutions that drive down costs and foster sharing. Wouldn't it be great to figure out a viable system where we could repurpose drugs already approved by the FDA and defray those development costs? Or additional research dollars for gene therapy that may be able to unlock the door to not just one rare disease, but many. And in addition to 0 cures, 5% of these rare diseases have an FDA-approved treatment. My daughter was one of the lucky ones. Not only did she receive her life-saving bone marrow transplant, but she benefited from something called enzyme replacement therapy immediately after she was diagnosed. Now, the amazing part was that after this innovative treatment went through 5 years of clinical trials, this drug was approved 1 year before she was born. Now, while my daughter's disease has many remaining challenges, there is no doubt that these treatments improved the trajectory of my daughter's life and the lives of those around her. What I'm talking about is increased productivity. Curing rare disease will increase all of our productivity. It is said that you need to measure what you want to achieve, but it is difficult to measure the cost saves from a lifetime of medical treatments that have been avoided because we were able to cure rare, or the increased productivity of a rare caregiver because they are no longer tending to the chronic conditions of a rare patient. Or how about the increased productivity of the rare patient themselves? When we think in these terms, rare disease is having a bigger impact to our world collectively. And this is why curing rare matters. Now, when I first put my talk together, None of us had heard of the coronavirus. I was prepared to take us back in time to the early 1900s when an entire generation changed the world and provided hope by seeing so many people suffer from the polio virus. It was having a big and scary impact on society, and they needed to find a solution. The coronavirus is having a big impact on how we get to live our lives. And while it cannot come fast enough, we will find a solution. But rare disease is having that same big impact, and we simply do not have enough solutions yet. So, it was not just important that the polio vaccine was developed. It was the fact that it was made available to everyone that was important. It was this action that changed the trajectory of the impact polio would have on our world. Today, we take it for granted that it is unlikely that anyone we know will suffer from the polio virus. Back then, everyone had to have courage to embrace change, and we will need to do the same thing today. We need to go into our own uncharted waters outside of our comfort zone if we want to cure rare disease. Now, 15 years ago, when I was set upon this journey, I blissfully thought that my individual actions would be able to find a cure. I figured I'm goal-oriented, I'm energetic, I'm willing to put in the work, I have a strong sense of purpose. True, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I am a rare mom. I can do this. I can raise enough money and awareness to cure MPS I and make a difference for my daughter. But what I came to realize are the complexities and the challenges of curing rare. And while my voice is very important, it will not be the actions of one stakeholder or one person. It will take the actions of many stakeholders who choose to work together to bring about cures and then make them available. And this is why it's going to take more than just investment in research. Now, thankfully, there are many stakeholders invested in curing rare disease. We have the doctors, the scientists, the researchers, the pharmaceutical companies, the biotech companies. But it's going to take patients, patient advocates, the government in the form of public policy, the FDA, the National Institute of Health, insurance companies, and you, public opinion. Now, each of these stakeholders plays a really important role in curing rare disease. But with so many stakeholders, it is inevitable that we will have competing priorities, differing views on risk, and differences of opinion. And sometimes these get in the way of having meaningful and productive conversations. For example, I've heard it said, big pharma is bad. But the thing is, I need big pharma. Or the government is slow, and I don't want to pay any more taxes. But the National Institute of Health is funded by our taxes, and it is one of the rare disease community's biggest champions. I need the NIH. So while we may all agree that we want to cure rare, we may not exactly agree on how to get this done. And that's why any solutions are going to require tremendous compromise. Maybe a compromise on access to treatments, a compromise on what is a reasonable rate of return on investment, or a compromise on who ultimately should have to pay. But once again, it is just knowing those challenges that all rare diseases have in common that will help us find solutions. We live in a very exciting time, one punctuated with incredible innovation and exponential advancements in modern medicine and technology. And all of these things bring hope. But in the end, none of this will matter without a collective change in mindset. We have to decide that it is no longer acceptable that 10% of our population will suffer from a rare disease. So how can you make a difference? Well, first of all, I think you already have, just by becoming more aware of rare disease. I mean, how could you possibly solve a problem that you may not have even known existed? But now that you know, I'd like to leave you with 4 things that you can do when you are given the opportunity to take action or make a decision that will impact a rare patient's life. Number 1, Curing rare disease will involve taking risk. We must be willing to take measured risk. Number 2, curing rare disease will demand that we have sustainable and patient courage. This isn't a one and done. It's going to take stamina and determination. Number 3, it will take tremendous compromise. And number 4, last but not least, curing rare disease will take the willingness to share for the greater good. Risk, courage, compromise, and sharing. If you do your part, no matter your role, we can all cure rare disease together. Curing rare disease will absolutely increase productivity, and it will certainly decrease suffering. Yeah, I need a solution, and my daughter needs a solution, but the people you care about need solutions. A cure starts with awareness, so thank you for becoming more aware of rare disease.